Hey everyone, I get a lot of questions asking how I do the recasings for laser tag, especially with Nerf blasters here. And truth be told, all the blasters that I make, like this long shot here, or this one based off the Stampede, they're all, I have to build them all on an individual basis. There's not one set way to build it, but there are certain tricks that you can use and certain methods that you can use that apply to everything. So I thought I'd show you how to make an easy one. This is a Nerf Nite Finder that has been modified with laser tag internals in there. There's a red light in the main barrel, and beneath where the laser pointer used to be is actually where the infrared light is emitted from for a laser tag. This is built for laser challenge. It's actually built from both of the elements that I'm going to show you how to do this with. This is a laser challenge Team Force 2000 pistol. I chose this one because the trigger keeps breaking on this guy, so I'm going to recase it into this Nerf Nite Finder. So first thing you're going to want to do is get a screwdriver and take apart your blaster. Now, these elements that you can use on stuff like this are, you know, obviously everything's got screws and stuff like that holding them together, so the nice thing about Laser Challenge is that this is a much more simple system to use. Things like Laser Tag Team Ups, or the LTX Phoenix, or Battle Tag, or whatever you want to drop into your shell, and it doesn't even have to be a Nerf blaster. I just chose this guy. I'll show you why. Specifically, I chose this. But one way or another, both blasters are going to have to come apart. So if you choose something that's really complicated, like when I built my Stampede, the thing was a pain in the butt to take apart and reassemble and take apart and reassemble because it was a lot of trial and error on something that large. So doing something simple like this Team Force 2000 Laser Challenge blaster into this Nite Finder is going to be pretty much as basic as they come for laser tag recasings. That being said, when you're choosing a when you want to do a recasing, it's a good idea to consider the type of case that you're using for the blaster that you want to do. Now I've got both halves open here. Folder open. There you go. There's the inside of a very basic laser tag blaster. And what's been happening with this guy actually looks like is this trigger assembly has been coming loose from its housing, and the trigger isn't able to come in contact with it. Now that's a problem with just the blaster's design. It's not going to prevent me from making a good blaster. Still fires now. I can finally get that trigger to work. Anyway, so you'll notice that this thing is running off of 2 AA batteries. This guy has a housing already built in for it for 2 AA's. When I did the long shot, the problem with this blaster is that it doesn't actually have a battery casing in it, so I had to make one. I actually used the clip system in this blaster as the battery housing for it. The Stampede that I made has its batteries housed back here, and it runs off 6 of them. The system that I used happened to run off of 6 batteries, so that really helped me out for that cause. But power is something that you might want to consider, because if you have an awesome shell in mind, but there's no battery door on it, you're going to have to figure out a way how to get those batteries in and out. My first couple recasings, I didn't think about that, and I just put power inside the blaster, and when I needed to change out the batteries, I had to take apart the whole thing to get to it, and that's a big pain in the butt. So I would suggest thinking about something that already has a battery housing in it. In this case, this thing uses 2 AA's, this blaster uses 2 AA's, so that's a perfect match. Now the next part is got to take out this system from here. Remove the batteries, obviously, and a lot of this stuff just slides right out. There's the lens assembly right there, the speaker assembly, the light for it. There's usually a screw or 2 holding in some buttons, and the buttons are on these little wafer boards that have the buttons soldered right onto it. So those guys come right off. Another nice thing about doing these recasings is, as a result, even though this shell ends up being useless to me, all of the screws that I get out of it, I end up saving. I mean, these are all my parts that I've accumulated over the years of doing laser tag recasings. So that side is free. There's the button that I got from that side. A good thing, actually I should put the batteries back in for this. A good thing to keep track of is what your buttons do, because without them being in the original housing, it can be easy to lose track of what's going on here. So obviously I know that this switch is going to be power. It's also the only two-way toggle switch on this whole blaster, so that makes it pretty easy to identify. Other blasters are going to be more complicated, so you got to keep track of that. This is obviously my reload button. And this button over here is my reset button, once I get to it. Now, the nice thing about doing a recasing means that you can also include or exclude features of the blaster into your recasing. On this pistol that I made, the power toggle is in the back right there, and the reload is there, and the trigger. That's all I have on here. I left out the reset because, well, quite honestly, if there was one thing I wish Laser Challenge didn't have, it was a reset signal. So, to prevent anyone from accidentally firing the reset signal, I just completely took it out of the blaster. Alrighty, so we're digging in a little more here. And this board looks like it's hot glued into this little housing. Yeah, I just broke it free. There we go. And step by step, this thing is coming free. Now, you're going to want to put your lens arrangement off to the side and take good care of that guy, because if you screw up your lens arrangement, there's not a whole lot of range your blaster is going to get. Because this is the cone that houses the LED for firing for laser tag. That guy's pretty safe in there. But if you screw up your lenses that actually focus that beam, actually I'll show you. Put these batteries back in again. Gosh, I really should have thought this through before I dug in this morning. Anyway, which one's my reload? That's reset. Where's my reload? There he is. Orange and red. Gonna remember that. Reload. Firing is the guy who's not on a board. See how weak that looks and how small of a spot that is? And you put the lens on there. Let's reload. That signal is much brighter, much easier to see. That's how laser tag works. So you're going to want to take care of your lenses. Take the power out before I electrocute myself. Which really, 4.5 volts is not the end of the world. Now, the one thing that's still hanging on to this guy, and I got pieces falling out, you'll notice that I've still got the power leads. The black and the red wire are what we're going to end up transferring into using the Nerf Nite Finder's system there. So I'm just going to clip some hobby clippers. And there we go, we're free. We have a laser tag system out on its own. Speaker, lens, reload switch, reset switch, the light, which I can even condense a little more, the board, and the power switch. And we've got our two leads for power. Now these are important to keep track of, especially if you have more than one red and one black wire on your board, which, as you can see, there's all kinds of different colors on here, including red wires. So keep track of that. Now we're going to break in the Nerf Nite Finder. Let's see what's the best way to do this. I'm just going to clip these few points that are holding this guy in. Hey, that works a lot better. Haha! That air restrictor you can hear. Oh, that's... You know, I feel bad. That's a really good seal. But this blaster I picked up at Walmart a couple months ago, actually, when they were liquidating a bunch of their Nite Finders for some reason. I thought that they were going to go off the market, so I picked up a bunch of them. They were $5 at first, and then they were buy one get one free, which essentially made them, you did the math, that's $2.50. $250 for a Nite Finder. I can afford to get this guy. Now, a lot of times, the way that I started doing these laser tag mods, actually, is I wanted to put something cool. I put laser tag guts into something cool looking. Let's face it, this thing is not the most flattering blaster design on the face of the planet. So, I found a broken Namco GunCon, and it looked like the Time Crisis pistol, so I thought that was pretty sweet. So I gutted it and dropped laser tag parts in there, and it worked pretty well. It took me a while to get it running, especially with it being my first one. So, leave it to me to work all the kinks out of a system like this, and you can learn from all my mistakes and, not suck it up. So the Nite Finder here doesn't have a whole lot of screws on it, but it's got a few more than the laser tag blaster. Obviously, you want to keep track of all these screws. I've got enough of an abundance of screws, as you can see from that little tackle box I have over there, that if I lose one, it's not the end of the world. And all the Nite Finder screws are the same size, so you don't really have to worry about mixing them up, which was awfully nice of them. Battery door here. You can hear screws falling out left, right, and center. Alright, got it apart. Lifting the two pieces apart. Keep track of all my parts flying around, like this little accessory rail thing. Now, the accessory rail is kind of useless, especially... Well, I guess actually you can make use of Nerf accessories finally, like all those aiming things. With Nerf darts, if you aim something, it's only good for about 20 feet tops. With laser tag, it's line of sight. If you actually line it up, then it's good. But the problem is, the system is not the most accurate in the world either. So even if you have like a pinpoint sight or a scope on there, because it has wiggle room and it can actually shift from side to side, it's still not a very good system to use. So we got the inside of our Nite Finder here, and we are going to take out the parts that are not going to be used for laser tag, i.e. the plunger system. We're going to retain the trigger and a few of the electronics that are needed to actually use on our laser tag blaster. Man, I love how simple this blaster is. If you haven't modded a Nite Finder, it's like the easiest thing to do ever. Gonna remove the laser targeting system thing here. There we go. So I've broken it down, pretty simple, and I'm gonna show you how we're gonna make all this stuff work. The housing here for batteries is no longer going to be running into this little switch that is activated by the trigger. Instead, we're going to actually use that as the firing trigger because it's already wired in for us. Why not use it? We're just going to need to rewire it to work with the trigger that's on our laser tag board as opposed to working to activate power. Instead, we're going to have both of these points here running into the black and the red wire that are running off of our laser tag board to actually power the thing. Then it's just a matter of mounting it and getting it all to fit in there. Before you do any mounting inside your blaster, if you want to paint it, now is the time. Do it without any internals in there. So as you can see, I've put a white piece of plastic covering up what would have been where the plunger tube was, so that way it's nice and closed up on the outside. I've painted it OD green. You can paint it whatever color you want. I retained the original color on the handle because Nerf paint is very durable, and this is a high traffic area, so this part of the paint is going to hold up the best still. So I've kept that. And I also sanded off the Nerf logo on both sides and removed the dart holders that were underneath the barrel. Now, all of your internals are going to go on this side with the exception of the reload button. That's if you're right-handed. If you're left-handed, then everything goes on this side. Or if you want to make it a left-handed blaster, so that way you can go dualies. Anyway, So since all the internals, the batteries, the trigger, the board, everything's going on this side, I've prepped this side specifically for sound. You can see here I've got a series of holes cut where the Nerf logo used to be. I also ground out parts that were originally in there to make that round in there to work for a smaller speaker system that I'm going to be installing in here. This is the old speaker. This is the new one. It's much smaller. Puts out about the same sound though, and it'll be much easier to fit inside this blaster. It won't be quite as cramped in there anymore. So blaster is painted, and now I'm going to be prepping the internals to mount to this side of the blaster. See it?